If you need to hide line work in your drawing, there is a form of annotation that you can use called wipeout. Now, the wipeout command creates a wipeout object. This type of object hides what's behind it. Let's start with just a simple rectangle and a circle. Doesn't matter what size they are or anything, that's fine. If you go to the Annotate tab in the ribbon and go to the Markup panel, you'll find Wipeout. Or you can just type in Wipeout on the command line. A wipeout will create a shape, and everything behind that shape will be blocked out. So when you see, it was very easy to use. You start the command, and you have three different options. You have frames, polyline, or you actually pick your first point. So if you pick your first point, then you can start creating your wipeout shape. Now, it has to have a minimum of 3 points, but you can use as many as you need. You can see the wipeout is even blocking out the grid from behind. So to create your wipeout, you just start picking points. When you're finished, press enter, and that will create your polygonal shape that defines the wipeout area. Now, if you have a closed polyline, you can convert it to a wipeout frame. So if I have a polyline that's closed, I can go to wipeout, type P on the command line, and then select. You can erase the polyline or keep it there. And that is another way to create a wipeout. Now that we have our wipeouts, note that these lines are frames, and these frames are going to show whenever you print. So keep that in mind. If you start the command again, wipeout, and this time type in F for frames, press enter, you can turn them on, which is the default. You can turn them off, which means you won't see the frames, but you can tell where the wipeout is because everything's wiped out. Or you can say display, but not print. So you have those options. Typically, you're going to want to display them, but not print them, because when they are turned off, they're here, but it makes them difficult to find and work with. I mean, you can still grip edit them just like you would any other object. But if your grid is turned off, for example, it's kind of hard to see where it is. Now, when you pan or zoom, the wipeouts kind of go away. So that's one way to loosely or quickly check for wipeouts. But you can select them and manipulate them or even delete them. But I suggest that you work with wipeouts with the frames on, but not plot. Now, wipeouts are great for hiding things, but be careful when using them. If you turn the frames off, you can forget that they're there. Or if they're off and another user gets a hold of your file and has to work in it, they won't have any idea that a wipeout is there. I've had that happen before, and it's very frustrating. It can cause a lot of confusion. So I suggest also that you create a special layer called wipeout for your wipeouts. You can call it whatever you want, and then select that to no print. That will also keep that from happening. Just leave the wipeout frames on, but that they won't print. Use that setting. That way, if your layer gets turned off or on, it won't make a difference for that. And it makes them easier to manage that way. But these can be very useful when you're revising drawings, working with old drawings, or have something you just can't turn off without making a major change, or you need to hide something behind another object. So that is a good use for wipeouts. Now, if you're using text, I suggest you don't use a wipeout for text. Instead, use the text's own built-in option called background. Use that instead of a wipeout for text. It's much easier to control and to edit that way. But for anything else, you'll have to use the wipeout.